Hello and welcome to Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Uyai Aniakan coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Let's take a look at some of the major stories. President Tinubu directs reservation of 10% humanitarian interventions to older people. Federal government says Nigerians to obtain passports in 2 weeks. Plus, million rounds of ammunition seized Ukraine. In a moment. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. We begin the news with the reports that the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu, says President Bola Tinubu has directed her ministry to reserve 10% of social safety net intervention for older persons. This was contained in a statement issued by her media aide Rashid Zubia in Abuja. It stated that the minister was speaking during a stakeholders meeting to commemorate the 2023 National Day of Older Persons in Nigeria. According to her, the president's directive that 10% of social safety net intervention programs be set aside for older persons in the country was a demonstration of his commitment to their welfare. In another development, the federal government has assured Nigerians that the era of waiting for months to get their passports is over. This was, as it was announced, a 2-week timeline for the processing of passport applications. The Minister of Interior, Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, gave this assurance while giving an update on his directive to the Nigeria Immigration Service to clear over 204,000 backlogs of passport applications. While stating that he had promised to sort out the backlogs in 2 weeks, the minister, however, noted that the promise has been fulfilled in 3 weeks. He, however, apologized to Nigerians for the delay. We move down to the Red Chambers, where the Senate has confirmed the nominees of the board of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, appointed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They were confirmed after their screening by the Committee of the Whole. The NDDC board members are Chiedu Ebie, Chairman, Delta, Dr. Samuel Obuku, Managing Director, CEO, Bayelsa, Boma Iyaye, Executive Director, Finance, Admin, Rivers, Victor Antai, Executive Director, Projects, Akwa Ibom, Ifedayo Abegunde, Executive Director, Corporate Services, Ondo, and Senator Dimaro Deboyamba, Bayelsa. Away from that, one of the ministerial nominees at yesterday's screening at the Senate, Balarabe Lawal, says his sudden collapse during the exercise at the Senate was as a result of exhaustion and that he is all right now. Lawal, a native of Kaduna State, was screened alongside fellow nominees Jamila Ibrahim Kwara and Ayodele Olowande Ondo to join 45 ministers previously approved by the Red Chambers in August. The screening followed President Bola Tinubu's letter to the Senate read on the floor of the Legislative Chamber, seeking its confirmation of the nominees. However, as the screening went on, things took a dramatic turn when Lawal, the second to be called up after Ibrahim, collapsed after only concluding his introduction, causing several people present to rush to his aid. As the world commemorates World Teachers Day today, the Director General DJ National Teachers Institute Kaduna State, Professor Musa Metsifia, says the institute plans to introduce a mandatory one-year teacher internship program by January 2024. Metsifia declared this in Abuja when he addressed to mark the 2023 World Teachers Day. The theme, the teachers we need for the education we want. The global imperative to reverse the teacher shortage, expatiating on the planned internship program. The DG said that it would be introduced in partnership with the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria. Meanwhile, World Teachers Day, which is held annually on October 5 since 1994, is observed to commemorate the adoption of 1996 ILO UNESCO recommendation concerning the status of teachers. The day also focuses on the rights, responsibilities, and standards of teachers' initial preparation and further education, recruitment, and employment. Meanwhile, the Federal Road Safety Commission (FRSC) has raised concerns on the spike of road accidents in Ember months. Recall that the FRSC had in August said that Nigeria lost 24 lives daily between January and June this year. The cumulative number of lives lost within the first 6 months of the FRSC is 4,387, a figure that translates to an average of 731 fatalities each month. The FRSC Public Education Officer BC Kazim, who noted that the road crashes happened within the 36 states of Nigeria plus the Federal Capital Territory Abuja, therefore urged motorists and other road users to apply more care and caution this Ember months. While noting that about 16 political parties had fielded candidates for the elections. In a separate development, the National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, says that 14 out of the 22 passengers aboard a boat that capsized between Kebbi and Niger states have been rescued. NIWA, in a statement, said the bodies of 6 other passengers were recovered, adding that the search for the remaining passengers. Recall that tragic incidents happened on Monday involving a boat from Kasabo village in the Angwara local government area of Niger State heading to Yari Market in Kebbi State. NIWA, however, stressed that its findings showed that the sailor ignored the turbulent weather conditions. In another development, the Osun State government has imposed a fresh curfew on the Rekbodung and Orolu local government areas of the state following communal clashes between Ilobu and Ifon communities. Recall that the Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke had imposed a curfew on the two local governments earlier in September after clashes were reported between the two communities, but the curfew was later relaxed after tension had gone down in the area. In a statement by the Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment, Kolakwa Alimi, the governor has directed that the curfew be restored in the two local government areas following reported clashes in the affected communities. Meanwhile, the curfew time has now changed to the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. as human and vehicular movement is to be restricted during the curfew till further notice. West South Africa has reportedly culled about 7.5 million chickens in an effort to contain dozens of outbreaks of 2 separate strains of avian influenza that threaten to create a shortage of eggs and poultry for consumers. Reports say at least 205,000 chickens have died from bird flu in at least 60 separate outbreaks across the country. With more than half of those outbreaks in Gauteng province, which includes the country's biggest city, Johannesburg, and the capital, Pretoria. Meanwhile, the government announced approximately 2.5 million chickens bred for their meat had been culled. The South African Poultry Association said another 5 million egg-laying chickens had been culled. The 7.5 million birds represented about 20 to 30% of South Africa's total chicken stock. The Falcon 7 eggs of the President of the Republic of Congo, Denis Sassou, been sold at auction for 7.1 million euros at the Grand Hotel de Bandex after being seized in June of 2020 at the airport of Gironde capital. The seizure by belief during maintenance work is part of a long series of legal proceedings initiated for decades by the boss of the company, Kosim Pegs, a Lebanese businessman, against the state of Congo. The auction of the aircraft produced by Dercelis Aviation was ordered by the Bodex Judicial Court in December 2022 and then confirmed in June of 2023 by the Court of Appeal with an initial price set at 7 million euros. Reports say the sale should make it possible to compensate Comicspecs for unpaid public works. On the foreign scene, the U.S. has sent roughly 1.1 million bullets seized from Iran last year to Ukraine. The U.S. Central Command Center, which oversees operations in the Middle East, says the rounds were confiscated from a ship bound for Yemen in December. Reports say Ukraine's Western allies had recently warned that their production lines were struggling to keep up with the rate at which Ukraine was using ammunition. Meanwhile, CENTCOM says the Iranian rounds were transferred to Ukraine on Monday. It added the ammunition was 7.62 millimeters caliber used in Soviet-era rifles and light machine guns. While the number is significant, it represents a small percentage of hundreds of millions of rounds already provided by allies to Ukraine, as the U.S. has already provided more than 200 million bullets and grenades.
The Secretary of Defense is authorized, with the concurrence of the Secretary of State, to make available to the government of Ukraine weapons and other defense articles from the United States and other sources. This obviously is one of those other sources. The Secretary of
Still on the foreign scene, the cost of a certificate to own a large family car in Singapore has jumped to a fresh record high of $106,619. Reports say the city-state introduced the 10-year certificate of entitlement COE system in 1990 as an anti-congestion measure, noting that prospective car owners in Singapore must have a COE in order to be able to purchase a vehicle. With taxes and import duties, the system has made Singapore the most expensive country in the world to buy a car. The government is reportedly keen to encourage residents to use the public transport system, which has been ranked as one of the best in the world. Still to come in the news. 2030 World Cup tournaments to be held across 6 countries in 3 continents. Stay tuned for details of these and more after the break.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Thanks for staying tuned, and now to the rest of the news stories. On our business news, the World Bank has described the Nigerian naira as one of the worst performing currencies in Africa. According to the World Bank's report, Shaping Africa's Economy Future, the currency weakened by nearly 40% against the US dollar since a mid-June devaluation. It stated that so far this year, the Nigerian naira and the Angolan kwanza are among the worst performing currencies in the region. It disclosed that the weakening of the naira was triggered by the central bank's decision to remove trading restrictions on the official market. And for the kwanza, it was the decision of the central bank to stop defending the currency as a result of low oil prices and greater debt payment. Meanwhile, other currencies, according to the World Bank report, with significant losses so far in 2023 included South Sudan 33%, Burundi 27%, the Democratic Republic of Congo 18%, Kenya 16%, Zambia 12%, Ghana 12%, and Rwanda 11%. Still in business is a report that the state government have borrowed about 46.17 billion naira from 3 banks to pay salaries between January and June of 2023. The banks include Access, Fidelity, and Zenith, with findings based on analysis of the half-year 2023 financial statements of these banks. Reports say that the states borrowed the most from Access Bank in 6 months, with a record of 42.97 billion naira loan, followed by Zenith Bank, 1.78 billion naira borrowed, and Fidelity Bank with 1.42 billion naira borrowed within the 6-month period. Meanwhile, as state governments' indebtedness to commercial banks rise due to worsening revenue challenges, the Fiscal Responsibility Commission have issued guidelines to banks on lending to state governments. Moving now to health, the federal government has signed a Memorandum of Understanding MOU with 12 pharmaceutical companies as part of its efforts to guarantee medicine security. The Director General of the National Health Insurance Authority, NHIA, Mohammed Sambo, announced these in Abuja during the signing of the MOU with NHIA Medicine Supply Initiative, NMSI. Sambo said the initiative was geared toward the strengthening of local pharmaceutical manufacturers, which would ultimately guarantee medicine security as well as facilitate the supply of affordable, acceptable, and accessible, available at quality medicine and other health products. The NHIA boss said 7 states, which include Delta, Enugu, Gombe, Jigawa, Niger, Osun, and Sokoto, have been selected with the Federal Capital Territory FCT for the pilot phase of implementing the initiative. Still in health, the federal government has put in place plans and strategies to double the population of medical and dental doctors from 5,000 to 10,000 from the next academic year by increasing admission into the medical and dental institutions. The Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Tunde Alausa, disclosed this at the induction ceremony of foreign-trained medical and dental graduates by the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria in Abuja. Alausa said the mass exodus of licensed doctors and other health professionals to more developed countries will be discouraged by making the healthcare environment more attractive. According to him, that just over 3,000 doctors produced annually in Nigeria remains grossly inadequate, hence the need to double the rate of production of health workers. The minister added that the ministry will continue to advocate for more funding into the health sector and increase the value chain to attract more international grants and funding. In sports, the World Football Body FIFA has confirmed that the 2030 World Cup will be held across 6 countries in 3 continents. Reports say Spain, Portugal and Morocco have been named as the co-host, with the opening 3 matches taking place in Uruguay, Argentina and Paraguay. Speaking on the decisions, FIFA's president Gianni Infantino said, "In a divided world, FIFA and football are uniting, and the opening matches in South America are to mark the World Cup's centenary, as it will be 100 years since the inaugural tournament in Montevideo." Meanwhile, FIFA also confirmed that bids from countries from the Asian Football Confederation and the Oceania Football Confederation will be considered for the 2034 finals. Still in sports, Nottingham Forest defender Ola Aina has been ruled out of the Super Eagles' upcoming friendlies against Saudi Arabia and Mozambique due to an injury. Reports say the Super Eagles will take on Saudi Arabia at the Estadio Municipal de Portimao on October 13, and the friendly against Mozambique will take place 3 days later at the same venue. Recall that Aina was named on the 25-man list released by Super Eagles coach Jose Pesiro on October 2nd for the warm-up games, with all players expected to assemble in Portimao, Portugal on October 10. According to reports, the 26-year-old is out of action due to injury he sustained in a match with Brentford on Sunday. Meanwhile, Aina was named Nottingham Forest Player of the Month for September. On our entertainment news, reality TV star Khloe Kardashian and NBA star Tristan Thompson are looking back at a difficult point in their relationship. Reports say that Khloe recently reflected on the paternity scandal that became the tipping point that ended their years-long romance. Recall that Tristan welcomed a son with Mary Nichols in late 2021, which came amid him and Khloe preparing to welcome their second baby together via surrogate. This led to their separation. Meanwhile, Khloe, speaking in an interview, said this is not the first time that Tristan has referred to her as his person, and it's a sentiment that she still struggles with hearing, especially when she thinks of the multiple cheating scandals she faced throughout their relationship. Still on entertainment, organizers of the MTV Europe Music Awards have introduced a brand new category, Best Afrobeat, in its 2023 editions. Reports say the category was included in 2023 MTV EMA nomination list, which was made public on September 4th, with Nigerian megastars Davido